Hello, hello. I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. And today with me I have Jeremy Howard from Man vs. Meeple. Jeremy, how are you doing
Hey,
today?
I'm doing wonderful, ASR3. How are you,
I
sir?
am doing good. I am playing a lot of good games, having a lot of fun, spending a lot of time with my
So am
family,
I.
by the way. I've been playing a lot of kids and family focused games recently, which is nice to spend that extra time, like Harry Potter, what's it called? Quest for the
Yes.
Moonstones, the what's
Yes.
the other Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy, a whole bunch of kids games with my kids, which is
Let's,
great.
that's where you want to be, man. I'm trying to get my kid back into playing these
Hmm.
games. I'm trying to select the right titles for him.
Yeah.
But, like, I really, honestly, and even playing with my game group, my game partner, I should say, at work, I really like playing with him. And I was just playing like a game like Radlands, like a game
Oh,
that doesn't
so
have a
good.
ton of icons. I mean, just so good. I was like, I really like playing these types of games with you. And he was like, that's why I like playing with you because these games are not hard to learn and they have low setup, low rules. Um, and then you can tell he's getting better at
Yeah.
games, which is the same thing with kids. It's like you can tell they're getting better at their thought process. You can see it and you go, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And, to spend time with your kids, man, it's priceless. We do a lot of work.
Yeah.
So if you can mix work, that work part of gaming
As a,
into this, with your family.
yeah.
I shouldn't say it's work. It's just that work part of
No,
gaming, I should
it
say.
is that weird
You know,
balance. I mean, like, listen, I will at some point review Harry Potter, but like we're Harry Potter Hogwarts
right,
Battle specifically, but like we're like 7 games into it, which I don't need to play all 7 to review it. So it's
right,
it's both work, sure, but there's plenty of fun being had at the same time. And
yeah.
Radlands, I mean, like Radlands is such a surprise to me. I was
Ooh,
not expecting that to,
ooh.
which actually, let's go ahead and dive into this list because that's actually kind of what this list is about. This video is the top 10 surprises of 2021 for us. The things
Yeah,
that surprise us the most. Now, I can't speak for your list. For me, this isn't necessarily my favorite games of 2021. In fact, most of them are not in my favorite games. Rather, these are games I played in 2021, and those words are key. I didn't exclusively choose 2021 titles, but they're games I played in 2021, mostly new or recent,
hmm
that weren't that just surprised me. They went from I was expecting either nothing or expecting negative things, and they just blew me away in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, that's my list.
yeah. It has to be a game that you are introduced to,
Hmm.
a game that you didn't hear about, all of a sudden you heard about,
Yeah,
game that somebody may have showed you and you're like, why didn't I play this classic all this time? Those are types of things. But there are just some games in the heart of these thousands of SKUs that come out every
yeah,
year that we miss,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's the thing. When we hit and it's like a home run, that's lovely. That's lovely. So I hope your list isn't stuck to 2021
Nope,
releases,
nope. It's mostly
but
newer
I
stuff. I
hope
think there's
for everybody else,
yeah.
right? For everybody else out there, I think that's a cool way to look at it. So
Yeah, for me, I think there's one older game, maybe two, depending how you look at it. Past that, I would say it's mostly 2020 and 2021, but there's a good sprinkling of stuff in between. But yeah, let's go ahead and start this off. I'll go ahead and start off with my number one pick, just because that's how these lists tend to work. And my number one pick is actually a game that I played because of you. I didn't own it because of you, but I owned it for a while. I'd heard good things about it, and then on a different video that I saw you doing, you were like, "Hey," to Jesse, you're like, "Hey, have you played Paleo?" And then I played Paleo, and then I sat down and pulled up Paleo. I pulled it off my shelf, and I got Paleo to the table, and Paleo completely blew me away. It was a game that I don't even remember why I picked it up, but at some point I had heard just enough that I picked it up. Then it sat on my shelf unplayed, and then when you asked Jesse in some other list video you did if he played it, and neither of you had, I don't know if you've played it since. We'll talk about that in a sec. But I got to the table, and Paleo is just it's so unique. It's so different in terms of what it's doing and how it's doing it that I was completely surprised by this co-op experience. It's a cooperative survival experience. You can play it solo. I've only really played a co-op so far, but you're just basically trying to survive as a Neanderthal in the Paleolithic, I guess a Paleo-Neanderthal or whatever it is, different terms. But whatever it is, you're just trying to survive as a caveman, telling your story, and the way you work together, the way there's an emergent narrative in this game, it just completely blew me away. It's a game that I continue to dive into and continue to enjoy it more with every single play, but it's one that I just saw pretty art, and that was enough until I dove into it.
people do try to play it solo. I think you're losing some
Yeah,
of
the
that
cooperation.
discussion, the discussion that needs to happen.
Yeah,
But I totally understand. if it's not your bag, like you want to play the solo, it says 1 to 4. I think it says 2 to 4 on the box, and there's a solo mode. But yeah, I just think this is definitely one of those sleepers that kind of came in at the end of the year 2020.
Yeah.
Or it was available, because I think I got it when it was like I imported.
It just won something this past year. Like in 2021, it won some award. I can't remember which one it won, but yeah, it was definitely a late 2020 hit. But I played it thanks to you, and I'm very appreciative.
Dude, I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's the most important part. I can suggest a lot of games. Hopefully, I'm glad it didn't suck. All right. So my number 10. You want to keep talking about Radlands?
Radlands is on your list. Nice. Let's do this.
So Radlands is on. You know what? I'm actually not going to do this in order. We're just going to keep running until we get to 10 games.
Sure.
All right. So Radlands, I had played it. I think I played it with the designer at PAX U just recently.
Nice. Okay. Had you played it before?
No.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And it wasn't on my radar at all. And then because I saw it and I was like, I don't know if this is my type of game. And then earlier this year, I played Ashes.
Rise of the Phoenix Born.
And I was like, I like this type of game, I guess. Like we played it at work. And then I like Unmatched. I like these confrontational 2-player games. So I was like, I guess I'll try it out while I'm here. I got, 30 minutes to kill. And I sat down, and I think it was the designer, and we sat down and we played. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I won.
That's what matters.
And I haven't lost a game yet. I won 2
really?
games today at work.
You haven't lost a game at all?
And I was just like, I haven't lost a game yet.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm on a run right now with winning games right now. I don't know what's going on. But I do find the game really elegant. It's very easy to learn. And the iconography is very simple. It's like, hey, I think there's only like four pieces of iconography that you got to remember, and the cards are very clearly explained. And basically, what you're doing in this game is you're trying to defend your 3 bases. Your 3 bases have abilities as well, and you have cards that are going to be playing out in front of you. You're going to be playing and making 2 columns, three columns.
Yeah.
And you'll be playing cards to that by spending water, because this is in a post-apocalyptic universe. And you'll be spinning the water, putting it on top of cards and activating them. It's very CCG-ish, where you're going to have cards come in, they're not active. You come in, they don't tap. You actually can hit them twice, and then they're gone. Yep. And you're just trying to protect those bases, but you're spinning water, and there's like little events that you can put on the side that go up the side and kind of trigger as you go along, so you have like an impending threat as well. So it's really easy. We're talking like 20, 30 minutes tops. And I like it because I win a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the economy of this game is amazing, and the simplicity and depth are incredible. It's one of those games where you kind of teach it, and you're like, I mean, that's it? Okay, I'll play it.
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you start making choices. And you start thinking, I'm gonna junk this card. I'm gonna play that card. I'm gonna keep these, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw 2 cards with my extra water because I really need an extra, little economy going on here. And then the initial bases that you pick, you draw 6 bases, you pick 3, and the way those combine into different strategies and different play styles every single time with the same core cards. Like, it's one of those things where you have the amount of cards you have in the game versus the amount of bases, even though you only use 6 bases. That's because they drive your entire economy of the game. It is
not to mention, even the bases that you pick determine how many cards you start with. And having cards is important too. So it's like just the small things that matter in this game. Like even the cards that you see, Alex has the punk cards down there.
Yes.
Like even having cards for punk cards, that's another part of the economy, because you can spend them for some things sometimes, or the cards interpret, hey, if you have this, then all your punk cards get flipped over, and it's like, whoa, like all of a sudden.
And then that event that damages all the bases, like there's oh my gosh, it's brutal.
So there's one buddy, I think he could sacrifice his base, but he could take out every character on the board.
Oh wow, and I was like, have you found the rolling base?
I was sitting there looking at him, and I'm like, don't you dare, don't you dare. And it was so fun. We had so much fun today at work at lunchtime.
It's such a ridiculously good game, and the simplicity of the way everything works together. It's just such a simple economy that works really well. Like, again, I've said it before, there's many ways of saying it. It comes down to the fact that the depth versus strategy here is just one of the best ratios I've seen in a game.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think this is a total example of how fun can be simple. And when I say simple, I'm not reducing it the design. I'm just saying it's amazing how you can get so much fun and strategy out of this design. And I'm just basically filling the air with words that you just said in a more in a tighter
Yeah.
manner. But as you can tell, it is something that I really do appreciate. I have a special place in my heart for designs like this because this is exactly why I'm into games. Like for games like this,
Yeah.
the ones I can take with me, the ones I can share a conversation with someone. I love abstract games, and I love games like this. I can sit down 20, 30 minutes, we can talk, and then we have our moment where we look into each other's eyes and go, don't look at me, I'm looking at my cards. This is about to be serious for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, I could keep going, but there's only so much time we can spend on a single game. But this I could talk about Radlands in an entire video, and maybe we will at some point. But my number nine on this list is going to be one. This is an older one. This is an older one that I kind of discovered this year. I left it alone for a bit, and this is Rec Raiders. Rec Raiders from 2019. Wow. Yeah, this is an older KTBG game that KTBG I kind of wrote off their games in early years. I just thought, family friendly focus. Same idea. Simplicity must equal less interesting. And so I kind of just never really dived into them. Pun not intended. Although when they came out with Creature Comforts, that was my first introduction to their games. That's when I started picking up some of their older games, and some of them have worked really well, some not.
Okay.
But like Rec Raiders is one that I didn't play it. I think I went into Fossilis's first. Then I played Food Fighters, and that one wasn't for me. Fossilis was great, but then Rec Raiders is one that's a little bit older. And I thought the games have gotten better over time, and they have to an extent. But Rec Raiders is fantastic. Yeah. It's one that, have you played this one by any chance?
Yeah.
It's one that it's still on the lighter side, but it's on the lighter side in the way that I would happily play this with my game group. I'd sit there and say, hey, let's roll some dice and figure out the best way to daisy chain our points together to build up our aquariums, to start gathering the various tokens we need to fill our display cabinets with all these different scoring mechanisms in the game. There's a lot of fun in again, going back to Radlands, although very different games, the simpleness of what's going on here versus the depth of scoring. And then in classic KTBG game design, like they have ways you can add and move things in or out so that it's complex to the right level.
That's what I love about this game particularly. And this is what they're all about. Like we can make a very easy family weight game.
Yep.
And we can take this design and start adding to it. So maybe as our kids develop, or you got some teenagers playing and you got a 10-year-old and it's you and you guys all know how to play games, this might reach everybody and everybody's interested. Because there is a lot that can go on in this game.
Yes.
But the concepts are easy to learn. Like they're not that difficult when you put them all together. So it's like if you even play with your son or daughter, your kids, and you added one level to it each time, you'd be good to go. Like they would understand everything that's being added or taken away and things like that. So
yeah, it's a great one. Yeah. One I wasn't expecting much from. I just thought it was an older one from them and wasn't expecting much. Hence the inclusion on this list.
Oh, wait, you know what? I may be mixing this up. They have for that game. It's been a while on that one. They have modules.
Yes.
Right? Or is it
no, they have modules like a little shark module.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I haven't actually played with the modules yet. I've played only the base game with the way and even the base game, because of KTBG, the way they design their games, even the base game, you have ways you can add or remove rules to make it simpler. But the modules have like this shark. I know there's a shark module. I know there's at least one other. I don't know them all, but there's a bunch of small little packets you have. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to break that out again.
It's a fun one. It's fun one. I enjoy playing with my kids, and I enjoy playing with anyone who wants to play this one with me. But yeah, that's my number 9.
Wow, man. So I guess I am going in order. Role Player Adventures is going to be my next game. I am not a fan of Role Player, honestly. I've given it a shot. I'm going to give it another shot now that I'm into this Role Player Adventures. But to be honest with you, like when I talked to Keith about it, and he was saying what it was, initially I was like, I don't know, man. But I felt like, oh, you guys are milking this universe.
Cartographers, role players, technically the lockpick one.
Lock up. And I'm like, well, they are, but at the same time, if it works and you keep coming up with good games for it, who cares, right? Yep. And if you've created this world, so you've earned it, just like Too Many Bones. Like they've earned it too. They're milking the franchise, right? So it's like once you earn it and you're successful, then keep doing it. And man, The writing in this game is so good,
Really?
and the gameplay, the writing is so good. The cool part about this game is what you're doing with those dice. So like now, instead of like building a character, you can build a character, but they have 30 some preset characters.
Okay.
And if you have the little expansion that comes with it, you can actually get like a little bit of a backstory, like kind of your motivation, like you're scarred or you're like, you grew up loyal, so you have this extra thing and you can go find different stuff. There's 10 or 12 books, and each chapter is like, it's like a book chapter. And what you're doing with your stats is you have you see those little jewels that they have right there,
Yeah.
not jewels, but like little cubes. Those are your stats. And you use those, you take them out and you put them in the exhaust area. That's the fatigue area. And you turn those into dice. So if you take one of the little chits out of the red, you get to grab a red die out of the bag.
Okay.
So you get to grab these dice out of the bag. But then the rest are just filled with random dice. And you have like a cap to the dice you can use. And what you're doing is you roll the dice and then you try to put them on the little squares that match the numbers. And you're trying to, some of them are like hybrid colors and things like that. But you're doing these for like perception checks. You're doing them for stealth checks. You're doing them for strength checks. They have like another booklet for that, but that's the picture you're showing right there is for battling. So you take those things and you use your cards, like the same items that you buy in Role Player, like the leather,
Yep. All the sets of gear,
all that
yep.
stuff like that. Now those are all dice manipulation cards.
Interesting.
So they may add 1, +1, -1, flip this die from a 2 to a 5. You can make this, blue a green. And you're playing these cards, and there's a tight limit to how many cards you can play, which makes it hard. But you're working as a team, or you're playing the solo, and it's a really good solo. It's great solo, and you're just manipulating these things. You may have only be able to play 4 cards, and you try to get as much done as possible with the stat checks. But with battle, it actually moves across. You see that little green marker right there?
Yep.
It just slides across, and you have 3 rounds to finish them off. And if you finish them off, then you get a whole bunch of stuff. It's got alliances. It's a fail forward game. It's got all kinds of just good stuff. But the most important part is while you're doing this choose your own adventure part, and you're going through these maps and stuff like that, picking up all this XP, it feels like you're doing it for something. It feels good. And the fail forward part will help a lot of people. But the selling point is the writing to me. Because without it, it's a heavy narrative game in the sense that like there's a lot of writing in the game since there's different books for each chapter.
Gotcha.
But if it stunk, I mean, you're really reading small paragraphs, folks. It's not like you're reading like 5 pages and then you start playing.
Yeah, and I'm happy to hear you say that on all accounts, because, like, I mean, Role Player, like, going back to Role Player is one that I've tried twice, and it hasn't worked for me. I'm actually on my 3rd try. I got it again, because I'm like, I have to try it with the expansions. I hear that makes it the best way to play.
Yes.
So I'm trying it, again, with all the expansions to see if it works that way. But I've always enjoyed it and never kept it.
Good man, be fair.
Yeah, but Role Play Adventures, I kind of just completely passed on the Kickstarter being, I wasn't interested enough, and then now I've been seeing people say enough good things that I'm kind of like, maybe I should try it, maybe not. And also, going back to this accessibility part we keep harping on, like, there are some incredible games that I will not make the time to play because there's too, like, a campaign game is already an obligation. The more complicated you make it, the more of an obligation you're making it. I almost want my campaign games to be more accessible. Give me strategy, give me choice, but accessibility at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is going to do that, and it's going to be a good conversation amongst, like, let's just say it was you and your wife. Like, this would be great. I mean, just great conversation to get to cards, manipulate the dice you want. Hey, I'm going to take 3 fatigue, but you use your wisdom black dice, and then my 2, and then we'll sacrifice all those and we'll roll the dice pool. We'll see what happens. And I mean, wow, yeah, it's fun, man. Want it, man. It's fun. It's expensive.
I know
it's expensive, but if you really, this is one of those things. If you really want to support a publisher, like, this was the game that was like all in on what they were trying to do. Like, this is their game. And this is the big one for them. So Role Player, although it's done well, as well. This was like the big payoff of the franchise. And this is this game. And thankfully, even if you're not a fan of Role Player, this game is great on its own.
Nice. Very good. Awesome. My number 8 is a game that technically the game came out in 2018. Ruthless. Came out in 2018
Yeah.
officially, but I only dived into it because they had the expansion recently, not on Kickstarter. They ran like a pre-order campaign for the expansion, the Tall
Yeah,
Tales.
weird campaign. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and I took it on because, like, I mean, the designer is Roland McDonald, who's famous for a lot of art in games. Famous for the art in Western Legends, the art in Renation, the art in Ruthless. But he's also a designer, as evidenced by Ruthless. And this is a deck building, pirate themed, poker hand building kind of game. Have you played this one?
I have not.
So poker hands and deck building and pirates, basically combine all that, and the general idea is
Fire. I'm good.
you're generally trying to gather these cards to basically so you can build the best poker hands, but utilizing and cashing in on the card abilities as you go at the same time. All the cards have different abilities that are going to trigger, and every single round you're trying to build these hands from a combination of playing the cards you already have and drafting new cards. So you get to have a little more control because of that combination of pulling cards into your poker hand and playing cards. And the abilities are everything in this game. The way the abilities daisy chain off one another from, oh, it's going to let me draw more cards. It's going to let me, take card from a card row. It's going to let me move 2 cards, discard a card, gain 2 coins, attack one of your cards. Everything in this all comes down to the way the abilities interplay with the actual building of the hands, whether you're going for the suits, the flush, the straight, the royal flush, all those different things, different options.
See, that's
Yeah, and for me,
that's totally me right there.
the Tall Tales expansion to me though, because I actually watched Tom Vassell reviewed this game a while ago, and he's like he liked it, but he didn't like love it. But the Tall Tales expansion does what I like most in expansions, which is it said, hey, you know all the stuff you like, we're just gonna let you do more of that stuff. It gives you more abilities, more chaining, more things that just go pop and boom when you do all the stuff you want. I love the Tall Tales expansion. I've only played this with Tall Tales. I never played the base game. I've played the Tall Tales, but I can see, just looking at how the expansion lets me do more, I can see how the base game would be good, but the expansion made it better for me. This came out of nowhere for me. It's a game that I had never heard of. I only covered it because they reached out to me. Even when I covered it, I kind of expected it to be okay. I was like, it'll be fine. I'm sure it's deck building. It never lets me down totally. But it really, I actually have to send this on to someone else to cover, and I want it back. Like, it's one of those games where I just want to sit down.
Want it back.
I really liked it. I really liked
I feel
it.
you on that. Oh, I can't stand that. That's one thing about being a content creator.
Yeah.
When somebody says you have to send it away, you're like, I wish you didn't email me back.
Like some prototypes, even if I like them, I'm fine letting it go. I have plenty of games to keep me busy.
Right, I'm fine letting it go.
Others,
some of them, you're like,
yeah.
No, you're like,
Yeah, but that's my number 8.
Trying to find, is there any other prototype out there?
Yes.
You can send away, right?
Yeah.
So this game, I'm looking at it, and I just crossed another game off my list. This game eliminated another game, like just eliminated the existence of the other game, and it is Bad Company. Bad Company is by Aporta Games. Aporta Games makes games that I like, but they make very few games. So Aporta, they brought this game, this design team. They're a really good design team, but this is a silly theme. Basically a space basis in a sense.
Yeah.
So you're going to be rolling these 2 sets of dice. You'll roll them, and the person who's the boss gets to decide what combination of dice they're going to be. So let's say you have a 5 and a 4 and a 2 and a 6. You'll just kind of decide which combination you want them to be. And then what'll happen is you get to use both sets of those dice, those numbers that you lock in, and you activate the people that are on your board. Now the cool part about this board is that it's made of two different halves, going from 2 to 11. Now the cool part is that you get like 8 to 10. I think you get like 12 of them in the box, and it'll, like this one right here, it says sneaky tacos. It'll be like skinny hoodlums, like all these silly names. Because the art is silly, everything about it is silly. So what you're doing is like I said, you're going to have the 2 sets, but then everybody else gets to use one of those 2 sets, and you're basically trying to get the icons. They have different things that you can do with everything. Like, you never have a wasteful turn. And you're trying to fulfill these orders. Now, the orders also have like a set collection to them. And they also have things where they'll give you benefits in-game and then like at the end of the game. But the one thing that really does set it, the 2 things that really set it apart from Space Base is there's a chase scene going on. So as you're playing this game, you have these drive icons that you can get, and the icons will keep you away from the cops. You want to keep going across this map where the cops are, and you're trying to beat them to certain spots. So you can pick up these safe cards that'll give you points and different benefits, and then you'll also be able to pick up money. You can even take shortcuts to get away from cops, And then you also, and this is the fun, silly part, is you can you get these characters and you put them on top of the picture that you have for your character. So if you have a 7, you're going to have this character that's on top of the 7. Oh, actually, you have a picture of
Yeah.
it. If you have an 8, you're going to have a picture of the person on top of the 8. And basically, the pants extend and the person gets taller and taller and taller, but it all lines up and it looks completely silly. But what that means is that you're going to have more icons you get when you trigger 8.
Gotcha.
So it's like, So, and the cool part about that is, and I keep saying cool, that of course you want to kind of put in the numbers that are higher probability, like you want to have it in the 7s and 8s and things like that. But the 11s and the 3s are going to be just harder to get to sometimes, right? So they really figured out a way to make this more exciting and interactive and more to do, and it actually is more in touch with the theme. So it just kind of eliminated space for me completely. And it was just a surprise. I was like, I'll try it out, and it ended up being a home run. Like, this game is staying in my collection. It has a place in my collection, just for the type of game it is, and everybody I play it with has had fun.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about this one. For me, I've always enjoyed Space Race. My preference has always been Valerian Card Kingdoms, but the general idea of these games where you roll dice and do fun stuff, they're fun, and layer some strategy on top of that, and it's just, you got a home run right there. This one I've heard nothing but good things from anyone who's played it, so it's been like when you said Bad Company, I was like, oh no, Jeremy got to play that one too, which, I mean, it's a good thing, but I was like just jealous, that's all. But yeah, very cool, very cool. Haven't played this one, 100% on my radar. For me, my number 7 is gonna be the oldest one here, the one that I haven't played in quite some time, and that's Viticulture.
This is ye old.
This is old. This is 2015, and that's
the dusty old scribes.
And that's re-implementation. I mean, that's from the original Viticulture, which was even earlier. But Viticulture Essential Edition, I have a troubled history with various Stonemaier games designs, and troubled history just meaning that I've always found them to be somewhat engaging, but never like be complete home runs for me. I mean, there's some exceptions. I don't know. Like Rolling Realms happened to be recently. I really like, but like some of their famous designs, Scythe, Tapestry, Wingspan, I've enjoyed them all, and none of them have I really kept. Charterstone I actually really liked. Went through the whole thing. But Viticulture, I think I put it off for a long time because of the art did not pull me in. The game looked dry as anything, pun intended, because wine and all that. But it's one that I just kept pushing off and pushing off and pushing off. And finally, in 2021, I got a play in. And I was like, this game is incredible. This game combos and daisy chains in such ridiculously rewarding ways, and the variableness of this, because of the cards, because of the fact that you have these different card decks you're going to be going through every single game. Every game offers a different challenge as far as how do you want to play the game. It's worker placement with seasonal worker placement. So you place a worker in the seasons you need. I have the Tuscany expansion, so it's 4 seasons. You're trying to be mindful of the seasons as you progress through it and place your workers in different spots, and then trigger and execute on them in different spots as you choose different card bonuses to figure out, what bonuses, what wines you're going to be fulfilling, what people are going to be helping you out, which vines you're going to be planting in your vineyards. The variableness of the card play keeps this thing fresh every single time I dive into it. And then if you have all the card expansions, which I do because I like this game a lot, this game was an absolute surprise to me. It's the Stonemaier game that landed for me, the one that really, not only is it my favorite Stonemaier game, but it's one of my favorite games in my collection.
Okay. 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
1, did you have a front runner issue with this game?
Do you mean like Runaway Leader?
Runaway Leader, sorry.
So, now that you say it, I have to think through our games. I would say, in general, so I'd say yes and no. Here's what I mean by that. I actually have 3 questions. Okay, so thinking back through it, and it's definitely not enough that I ever noticed it on my own. But I think I know why, because now that you've asked me the question, and we've played this game, I don't know, a whole bunch. We've played this game a whole bunch. And I would say that it's definitely true that in a large enough portion of games that the person who wins is winning, because like you're going to like 25 points basically, and so you're often having that the winner is ahead of the next person by like 8 to 10 points, which is a big gap. It's a big gap. But I think that happens, and I think the reason why I both see what you're saying, but also we never noticed it, at least I never noticed it until now, is because usually everything escalates rapidly. So while it's
It
true,
does escalate quick, yeah.
like, because you spend a lot of time
Yes.
building up your engine, and then what happens is you get to the last 15 minutes of an hour and a half long game, and suddenly someone gets a ton of points and wins. So it does happen,
Oh,
but it's happening
so
late game.
Alex, hold on.
Yeah,
Hold on. So let me go ahead and just cut you off
sure,
and
sure.
ask you my second question. Did you have a problem with maybe at some point, just like you stated, that a card flipped and you were like, wow, that seems like that was just very unlucky for all of us and very lucky for someone
Nope,
else?
that one I don't have.
Because that happens quite a
What do you
bit,
mean
I
by
think, in
lucky
this
and
game.
unlucky?
Now, as you add more expansions to it, you get more of the cards that are like, more visitors and
Mm-hmm.
things like that in there. It changes. But I do find that the cards, same, that's a thing. You're just not getting the cards that really help you out, and somebody does, and it just makes another runaway thing. My third thing,
Yeah.
I, it's not. I don't know. Maybe I should just ask you this, and then I'll kind of talk my way through it. Don't you feel like you've grown out of a design like this?
No, I love this one. It's so good. It is such a good
I feel like you. I just feel like you. I just feel like maybe it's the exposure thing, but maybe you. I don't know. I only say that because there's other
Sure.
games that people play and they go, oh yeah, like I've grown out of that one. I don't play that one anymore. I'm not being a curmudgeon about it, but I'm trying to. I just feel like this is the type of game where you'd be like, yeah, this is fun, and then
So I like, for me, this is a common staple in many Euros. It's I find that I like games that let me do stuff. That's when it comes to Euros. I like games that let me do stuff. I don't like Euros that make me like really struggle to get things done and really calculate the maximum efficiency of every single action. And there are some that are very, very strategic. I mean, Lacerda game designs in
right,
particular, for instance, let you both do stuff
yes,
while being crunchy to that degree. But this one, the worker placement of it is rewarding. The simplicity of the actions you're taking is balanced out by the way the seasons work and the way you have to manage the sequencing of the seasons as well as what you're trying to get out of it.
yeah,
The card play makes it frequently feel fresh. This is not a Euro where I get locked into the fact that, obviously the most efficient thing is to get the wood and turn it into wheat, and then wheat that goes into there, never turning wood into wheat, but you know what I mean. But I
yeah,
like the variableness of the design, and I like the fact that it lets me do stuff. And there's a lot of ways you can actually try to build your engine. I like this one. I like it a bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's I think it's an all-time great design for a reason. People love this game for a reason, but I just for some reason I this is the Stonemaier game I stuck with the
Mm-hmm.
longest. And it's a really good solo mode. And what I found before, like a little bit before this and after this, I just kind of flame out on these games so fast,
Mm-hmm.
with the Stonemaier games, and I feel like I've owned almost every single one, and I've flamed out on every single one so quickly.
In general, I agree
Um,
with you. This is the one that broke it for me.
yeah, yeah, but I mean, shout out to him. He's got a lot of fans, and this was my favorite of his games,
Yeah.
no question,
In any case, your number
no
7.
question. My number 7 is Rococo.
Oh man.
Never played Rococo. Rococo, the new edition came to me, and let me tell you, Lord, that is one high quality product. Sweet Jesus. So basically, you are making outfits for people.
Yeah.
And you got like a little bit of an area influence type game going on. So what you're doing is basically you're playing a deck of cards. These deck of cards are sort of deck builder ish, right? So you're taking these cards and you're taking actions on the cards. You're trying to build specific types of clothing and different types of quality of clothing to make sure they match up with people. So when they go to this dance, and when you go to the dance, like go to the different spots or dinner or whatever they're doing, they're going to have different parts where you can get resources for putting them in the spots with the beautiful dresses and stuff like that. So you're just going to get these points, trying to fulfill different areas. And then you also have at the top this like fireworks presentation that you're also trying to get points from as well. It's just a really interesting design. It is not a heavy game. It may look like that, but it actually is really easy to get into. I was very surprised how easy this game was to get into, and it's because the iconography is very, very clean. It looks like it looks Lacerda-esque.
This
The way it presents it to
I was gonna say this game is always the
you.
one
And
that's
I think
not a
that's why people
Lacerda
would be
that
excited.
feels like a Lacerda.
Yeah. It very much feels like a Lacerda, and that's why I was like, woo, this game's fun. Solo mode is good on this one too. But yeah, if you get this version, it's got another expansion to it, which I have not delved into yet. But it adds several modules, so it's like 4 modules. So if you're a person that owns Rococo, you want to bump up in art, this will be the one. But I'm serious, like you really are just playing cards for one action or the other action. I believe it's like one action, or some of them have 2 actions on it. And then on the bottom left side, you have specialists that you can that you can get, and they have like a little way that they play out how they come out back out of your deck. The actual that board that you're looking at is a player aid. Like it literally is a player aid to walk you through your turn, so you're not even in the rule book all the time, and everything you see points wise is right there. So like, hey, I'm winning this part. I want to put somebody here. If I put them in the middle where this beautiful area is, I get another benefit as well. Okay, I lost that lane, so I won't try to go there. I'll go to another spot and kind of start spreading yourself. And I think there's like, if you have matching dresses and stuff like that, you get points. It's been a minute, but I played that this year, and it was an absolute surprise that I missed out on this game. Now I know why people love it.
Yeah, this is one I'm getting my hands on this one. I have not played it yet, but I've heard good things, and I mean, it looks beautiful. Yeah. It plays well. This is a reprint. I'm excited. I'm excited about this one. Yep.
Yeah, it's just a gorgeous game, man. Wow.
Very cool. My number 6 is a game that I wrote off. And a few of them, I wrote off. But number 6, the nature of calling it surprises. But number 6 is a game that I wrote off when it was on Kickstarter. I thought it would be too accessible, too simple. One that was not designed towards, someone like myself who's looking for heavier experiences. And that's Canvas. Canvas is...
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, I wrote this one off hard. It was on Kickstarter, and then I remember the thing to me that stuck out to me was they showed the game, and they were showing a panning across a bookshelf of canvas and then a bunch of puzzles. And I was like, if you're advertising this game with puzzles, that's great that it exists. No disrespect to that, but you're not advertising it to a someone who's playing designer games. You're advertising it to more of a mass market audience who's going to get a puzzle and get this lighter game to go next to their puzzle. And so but then that combined with the fact that the gameplay looked on the lighter side, this is from Road to Infamy Games, I was like, oh, this is a lighter experience, and I don't need to add it to my collection. And it is lighter, to be very clear, but in a good way, in a very accessible way that is both light and rewarding and engaging. Part of the premise is the fact that you're building out these canvases. You're building out these layered canvases as you get these cards from the card row. You're going to be paying for them in a typical fashion you see in a lot of games where you have to pay for the ones that are further out, or you can take the ones closer. You lay down your tokens to get the cards, and once you get it, you can have a maximum of 5 of them at a time, but at any given point you're going to sit there and, as an action, build out a canvas. You're going to take 3 of these art pieces and slide these little acrylic cards with different art designs into your sleeve and build out a unique painting that has its own little unique thing. And that's where the game shifts from, okay, here's accessible, to here's a crunchy game, which is, while the art is the core appeal of it, the actual gameplay comes down to the fact that you have 4 core cards at any given point. You have 4 cards on the top that are telling you what you're going for. So, for example, if you see on the screen, that leftmost card gives you points, it gives you a token every time you build a painting that has all 5 colors having an icon on them. And you can see how they don't always have an icon. Depends how you overlay the things. You'll have different ones. You'll have this one over here, this emphasis over here, which rewards you for having exactly 1 rainbow icon on your painting. And so you have 4 different goals, and you're trying to balance how do you achieve these goals. And some of these goals you can hit multiple times. And you're trying to build out a canvas that technically has an art aspect, but if you're playing it the way I'm playing it, you're just trying to optimize your score around these things. And it is such a fun game to do that. It is fun I've had people who have never played a designer game before sit down with us and play a game and have fun, often focusing on the painting, but they're sitting there having fun. And then I'm sitting there trying to play to optimize my score, and everyone at the table is just having a good time. I wrote this off, and I was 100% wrong to do so.
I should just buy this. I got to make sure I get this one here. I don't know. I hesitated to back it twice.
Yes.
I made a mistake.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna correct that. I'm actually gonna put that in a window.
It's a good game.
And buy that. I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah, I'm gonna put this in a window. Hold on a second.
Take your time. Take your time. And by the way, this is a good time to tell people who've made it this far into the video, make sure to head on over to A Man vs. Meeple, where we're doing our top 10 disappointments as well. Probably should have said at the beginning of the video for those who didn't make it this far, but this is the top 10 surprises of the year, but we will have our top 10 disappointments at the same time.
All right, cool.
Which brings us to your number 6.
Yes, we will. Oh, number 6, sir. I was about to say a disappointment.
No, not yet.
I'm gonna go. Dinosaur World.
Really?
So Dinosaur World, I fell out. Speaking of flaming out, I flamed out of love with the Dinosaur Island pretty quickly. Very abrupt game. Even the long game didn't feel so right. Just kind of left a bad taste in my mouth. And I may try it again, actually, because now they have a 3rd edition, and I think they changed some things, small tweaks and stuff. But that's neither here nor there, because Dinosaur World is here, and it's awesome. And I like this game because it gave me a little bit more of the complexity I wanted from the game, from the design. And it is a different design. There are parts of it that share the DNA of Dinosaur Island, which is the dice, and you're going to be using those dice to kind of add your resource to it. So what you're doing is trying to build a park. It's same thing, but this one is more like, it's not Civ building, but it feels like that in a sense, because you're building these tiles that are like attractions. You're building ones that are security. You're also just building pens, these pens for the dinosaurs. And what you're doing is now what happens is there's a phase where you take people on a tour around the park in this little Jeeple, as they call it, and you're going to be going around and activating your little guys that you draft. There's a card that you get every round that has a whole bunch of guys on it, and then what you'll do is you'll place your guys on the specific requirements for that thing, and it'll give you more DNA. It'll give you more points if you have X, Y. You go through the paddocks with the dinosaurs, people will see them and they will be excited. But if they go back through it again, they won't be as excited about what they're seeing. So it's cool. This is a cool game. It's not going to blow everybody's mind away. It has a big setup. It's got these little chits that are kind of annoying, and there are a couple errors that are in the book and the player aid. These are things that didn't make me, like, this game didn't blow me away, but considering where, I was with Dinosaur Island, and I took a risk on Dinosaur World, because I just figured, like, this is more of what I want, and it is. It just is. And, we'll revisit this game in a year and see where I'm at with it, but this is the game I wanted.
Nice. This
is the game I wanted.
Yeah, and I'm happy.
And that's a thing, right? That's a thing, right? Like it may have not been like a blowaway, but it's like when somebody comes with a game in a series, just like Role Player, just like I said, it's like that's what I wanted, like versus what you got before. It's like that's exactly what I want.
Yeah,
and this is one of those games like that.
And that's where I am with Dinosaur Island as well. Meaning, I played Dinosaur Island, I liked it, but didn't love it, and exact same place. I took a risk in Dinosaur World. I have not tabled this one yet, unfortunately, but sounds like you're coming from the same place, so that gives me even more hope. And generally, I've seen positive things. I don't know if I've seen oh my gosh, this is amazing.
It's a beast. It's a beast on your table, man. Oof. Holy table hogs.
Yeah, very cool. Dinosaur World. Yeah. Dinosaur World. My next one, my number 5, I guess we're up to. My 5 is one that I backed this one expecting I would resell it. I figured, hey, I'll take a risk. I'll go for it. I know it'll hold its value, so I backed it on Kickstarter. I was like, this won't work for me. It's a decent chance it won't, but I can always turn around and just get my money back. So I'll go for it on the off chance it does. And it is one of my favorite games from 2021. That's going to be The Great Wall. The Great Wall from Awakened Realms. I have multiple videos of me being on camera saying, hey, this is probably not going to work. This is Awakened Realms diving into the Euro genre. They're going for worker placement. It's going to be messy. It's going to be it's going to be okay. But hey, it'll be pretty miniatures. I'll take it out. My kids will play with it. I'll give it a few shots, and then I'll move on from it as soon as I realize it's not a game for me. But it's so good. It is so good. It is the solo solid. I haven't played true solo. I've played the co-op solo where you two-hand things because I don't like playing with autonomous that much, and the true solo means you're running basically 2 autonomous, 2 different rule sets. I don't like that. The regular two-handed co-op, you're playing with 1 rule set, which is fine for me. It's a small, But then from there, from the solo, while I'm fine with the solo, for me, I really enjoy it much more as a either fully co-op experience, which I'm down with, but honestly, the regular competitive experience works well for me. The game comes comes down to the fact that it's worker placement and you're defending the wall. But defending the wall is all abstracted. It's worker placement, and you're basically using your workers to attack these cards, these hordes, these enemy cards you can see over here. You're just basically placing your workers down on these various spots on the cards, which you actually can't see on this particular picture, but maybe I'll find you another picture. Here, you can see these little cards down here that you're placing them down on. But the core part of the game that really works, that is so ridiculously rewarding, is managing your advisors and your generals. You see, every single game you're going to be getting your general who has a core action they have, and then whenever you take advisors, you can either take advisors for their abilities, or you can stack them under your general to make your general's ability more powerful, which results in this amazing tableau building experience where all the advisors feel like they do so much for you, but then empowering your general feels like you're making his ability more powerful. And so the balance of just getting these more advisor cards, either for the advisor themselves or for the general, means you're constantly improving and building upon your tableau in a way that is so ridiculously rewarding and so variable. Like, especially if you have expansions and stuff, you have so many cards to play with that it's its own little miniature tableau building game that really delivers. This is one that I was not expecting anything from. I was literally expecting to resell it, and it is sticking around.
Alex,
hit me.
It just looks like a mess.
It is a mess. It is. That's the biggest complaint I have. It's one that you have to be mentally prepared to table.
It just looks like a big mess.
Yep. But did you see that shiny 8.0 on the Boarding Geek page? Tom Vassell loved it too.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know. I watched his video. I don't know. You're saying the words that I like to hear, but it's just I
walk into some of these games, and sometimes I wonder, like, maybe I'm buying my own hype. Maybe I like a game nobody else does, and I get worried with that. And I played this game, and I loved it. And then Jesse and Shira, the Quacklope team played it as well, and they loved it too. But, and there's a big but there, because we play these things together, sometimes we can get looped into this groupthink. Maybe we all had a good time.
Yeah.
And so I watched Tom Vassell's video the Dice Tower. I watched his video I was like, okay, I'm curious what he says. He doesn't have to agree with me. He does not have to. My opinion is still my opinion. But when he's like, this game's amazing, I was like, that's right. I know it is. I'm glad you see it too. It was, it was validating.
Huh. I don't know. Maybe when I'm there, man, I'll check it out.
Oh, we will happily table it. It's a bit of a mess. I have specific 2 or 3 nitpicks as far as the rules that I find a little bit clunky, but the experience is so good, and you'd love the solo play. I mean, like by
the way, it just looks like the rule book's a mess.
So the rule book is actually not as bad as some other Awaken Realms books, but it should be better. It should be better. Yeah.
I look at the table, I'm like, that's a mess. The rule book must be a mess.
Yeah, but teaching is actually pretty easy. I can teach this game a lot faster than I can read the rule book for it, which is usually the exception.
Okay.
But yeah.
That's good. That's actually a really good thing.
That's my number 5. Yeah.
Interesting game though, because Awaken Realms makes big splashes, right?
Yes, they do.
And this game is one that I do only hear positive things about it. But not a lot about it.
Yeah, well, I think, to be fair, I think it's only just really starting to land. Like, I think it's just starting to see that wave. I mean, because we got some advanced copies, so, Quacklope and I got ours, Dice Tower got theirs, and then in certain regions it's been delivering. But even, like, now I'm seeing people say, oh, I just got my copy. So I expect this one to continue to rise.
Yeah, I agree with that. I have seen people just start to get their copies. So, yeah, we'll see, right?
Yep, time will tell.
My next one is going to be the Key series. So the Key series by Haba.
Yep.
Now I'm a big fan of Haba games. So like I love Haba stuff. I love Haba stuff, and it's because it's the kid in me.
Yeah.
But they also make really good games. Just good games, and people see that yellow box and they kind of dismiss them. This is by maybe the same guy who made The Crew, I believe.
Really? I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think he's the designer of The Crew. Yep.
Beautiful.
And this is another elegant design. What you're doing is you're trying to solve a deduction crime. So it'll be who did it, where did they do it, and with what. And so then you'll have like a little lineup, and you'll get a pamphlet, and the pamphlet will tell you like different things, like shoe sizes of random people, show times, other little clues that you got to put together. And what'll happen is you got a whole whole bunch of evidence cards. Just click on one of the evidence card pages. There's like there's just cards splattered everywhere.
Yeah.
So the cards are splattered everywhere, and they have different codes because they're going to decide which case they're for. So you'll have, let's say it's a green case. So all the cards with green on it, you're just supposed to just go through there and find those cards. Now there are types of evidence cards, so you're not just literally going in blind, but you are scrambling for these cards because everybody's grabbing them, and you can only have one at a time. You can't grab 5 cards and then just hold them. So what you're doing is there are numbered, I think, 1 through 4, and of course 4 is going to be the best clue ever, like it's going to be almost a dead giveaway, and then the other ones are going to be kind of, like I said, just kind of
you tie together other stuff.
Clues, right? Fake clues, like, okay, this person was around here at this time. This person is not this. That kind of thing. You're going to be circling
the
what
roller
you get.
coaster was not sabotage with the pliers.
Right. So then you're deducing what the stuff is. Now, here's the kicker. So when you go, I click on Eric's picture. I love his pictures, by the way, with the black ring, with the ring over there on the left. I love his pictures. Great content creator, by the way. If you like to read blogs, Eric, what's Eric playing? Amazing. Thousands of written reviews, detailed written reviews, by the way. So you see those keys right there?
Yep.
So what'll happen is from your combination of people, you'll get a number. And then you'll take that number, you'll put the key in that number, and you will turn it over, and it will tell you whether you got the right answer or not. Everybody does have to finish, by the way.
Yeah.
They have to finish and get their own number. Now, what happens is let's say everybody got it right. You look at the cards that you use for evidence, and that you add up the numbers, and whoever has the lowest number wins. And the person who actually finished first gets to throw away a card, and then that way they have a lower number, and then whoever has the most points wins. There are 9 cases in each one of these boxes, and I'm going to tell you right now, this is definitely replayable because it would be so hard to remember, like, what case is this? Like,
yeah.
And with different people, you're going to get different clues, and the easy ones are not that easy. There are cases. I watched Monique and Naveen get stumped on one. Like, this is not if they get stuck on stuff. Like, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, I played this. I think I played 3 cases in the first box. And when I went back for case 4, I was like, I don't know anything from the prior cases. I'm already ready to reset.
Right.
Like, I'm good to go. Yeah.
So this newest one, the Cliff Mountain one, is the one that's supposed to be the hardest. So I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited for that because I've played the easy and the intermediate, and found them both enjoyable. Yeah. Easy, I find that the sequencing is, it's you definitely have challenges. You definitely have things that you'll miss and get it wrong. But I like the intermediate where you have that 4th level of challenge. Now you have an additional thing. What's the escape vehicle? But I'm curious about a hard one. For me, this is a brilliant game design. I picked it up because of, again, your fault. I picked this one up because you and Monique and Naveen were talking about it.
So you are going to get, I think it's like, I don't think I can say, but there's going to be more.
I'm very excited. This is a solid one. I looked into it because of you guys, and you were 100% right. It is a ridiculously accessible, ridiculously impressive game design, and fun to play. This is a solid deduction.
$30 too, by the way.
Yeah.
$30.
Yeah.
$30.
Very cool. Very cool,
While
sir.
While you're at it, and you like Haba games, get Hammer Time. It's absolutely amazing.
Ooh, I've seen good things with that one.
Yeah, it is. It's so silly. It's such a silly fun
It's
game.
the little tapping one on the side, right? The little tapping.
Yeah,
Oh
the little
gosh,
tapping
ridiculous.
thing. I mean, come on, man. People, come on.
Ridiculous.
Fun is simple.
My number four is another one that and not the last one either, but it's another one where I passed it on Kickstarter. I saw it on Kickstarter. I was like, I am not intrigued by this at all. I'm good. Write it off next time. And then I got it at retail, and not only did I get it at retail, I played it and then immediately upgraded to the deluxe copy because my number 4 is Mind MGMT.
Yeah, buddy. Buddy. Ooh.
It is so good. And to be clear, I have a whole lot of like lists for 2021 coming up, and I'm like being mindful of not to have too much overlap between the lists. Mind MGMT can be on it all.
Not to.
Mind MGMT can be in every single one. It is.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
It's such a good game. It is ridiculously good. It is. I mean, that rank 2476, that's going to climb. This thing might be top 100. I would not be surprised. It
Mm-hmm.
Everyone I've seen who play this one, I mean, it's basically it's hidden movement. So if you've played hidden movement games, if you've played Fear of Dracula, Let Us Whitechapel, Spectre Ops, any of these games in these general lines where you are secretly moving around a board, that's what this game is giving you. You have the recruiter, you have the mind MGMT, who's basically the recruiter who's trying to walk around recruiting other agents, and you're trying to secretly navigate around this board. And then you have the agents who are the rogue agents who are trying to capture him. And it's a clever cat and mouse game that relies on a few central premises to work. One central premise is that the recruiter can never go in the same location twice. Another one is that the rogue agents can ask when you've been to have you been to a certain spot. So you can see every spot on the board has 2 icons on it. So for instance, over here we have coffee and a bird. Over here we have the pool and the umbrellas, the fountain and the umbrellas. So you have all these different aspects to the board, and the rogue agents can say, hey, have you been on any books? And then the recruiter has to say yes and then put down a token, or no entirely. And combine that with a few other actions in the game, and you have this cleverly closing off of a board that is simple, engaging. The gameplays can run easily. I mean, I've had gameplays vary, but generally 30 to 45 minutes is how long a round takes.
Yeah.
It's punchy, it is fast, it is tactical, and it only escalates. There's these shift packages that you can unlock new things. So you're like, finding it a little too easy for the rogue agents? Well, then great, let's give the recruiter a few tricks up their sleeve. And those tricks will blow your mind. Change the game.
And both sides get tricks.
Yes.
Both sides get tricks, depending on who loses. So it's like, hey, if I lose as the recruiter, I can make it harder to do something for them. And they have to do like several things to find me now, not just one. So it's like, even if you ramp this game up just by adding the actual full game, because some people may play the base game and be like, I don't know what all the hype's about. I'm like, immediately play this again with the rogue agents and everything and the mayhem in there. Because if you do, as a matter of fact, skip to that right away.
Yes.
And you'll be like, wow, this is...
I happen to find the intro base game to be engaging in and of itself, but with the caveat that I would completely understand anyone who says, I don't understand why this is amazing. I understand why this is good, but why is it amazing? So the base game is solid, but it could run the risk of getting repetitive, and it won't give you that full level of just how much is going on here. It's so good. Yeah. It's so good.
Good. So intense. Lots of pressure in that game. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it. So mind management was on my list, so we can knock that off. Why don't you go to another one?
It's jumping straight to another one. Fine. I'll go ahead and do it. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead. Number 3 for me. Number three is one that I didn't even bother backing it when I was on Kickstarter because the company had a prior game that had not done well with an IP, so I just passed on Kickstarter. And then when it came out, people were talking about how it was not necessarily the greatest, and so I was like, oh, well, glad I passed on it. And then they sent me a copy, and more specifically, they reached out and said, hey, do you want to cover it? And I said, I'm happy to cover it because I love all the bling, but I'm also worried that this is not going to be a game for me, and I'm going to tell it like it is, so that's your call. And they took the risk. And I haven't reviewed it yet because I haven't played it enough. But now my number 5 is Horizon Zero Dawn.
What?
Yes, what? I know. Steam Forge Games reached out. I literally sent them, no pun included, review, and I said, here's their review. And for the record, these are the specific parts of the review that I think would be a problem for me. Your call. Your move, buddy. And they're like, yeah, we're happy to send it to you. See what you think. Now, again.
Shout out to Ross and the team over there.
Yes.
That's ballsy.
That was
ballsy.
I literally called out exactly. I said, these are the things I'm worried about. Your move. And they sent it to me. And now I've only played it. I've only played it 3 times so far. So I slowly play it more. I want to play with expansions and modules and all these things. But this one is going to come. It's going to be like Either Fields all over again. Speaking of Awakened Realms, meaning
you got to sell me on this, my man. You're going a little left on me right now. I'm feeling it though.
No. Let's do it. Let's do it. Okay, I can sell it to you. So first of all, if you watch No Pun Includes review, which I highly recommend you do in general, anyone who's interested in the game, they start off with a lot of the things that were positives for them, and then they move into all the ways it let them down. I agree with every single thing they said across their entire review, with the difference that I'm focusing more on the positives. This, like Either Fields before it, is a review where, and again, I have to play it more, things might change, who knows, but my general opinion of Horizon Zero Dawn right now comes down to the fact that there are specific aspects of the game that I think are not the best. Small little things. Okay. For instance, one example, and this is a no pun included example, when you shoot one of the creatures and you take it down, you take a loot. Like, you shot it from across the board. What do you mean you picking up the loot? The loot didn't drop. Like, it's a weird thematic disconnect. And then there's the fact that you're playing this semi-co-op experience. And it is semi-co-op. You kind of have to ensure that all the hunters stay alive, while at the same time you're kind of you kind of you incentivize to keep your people alive, but then whoever kills the most monsters gets the most glory, and so you have this weird balance that works but has typical semi-co-op problems. And if you switch to the cooperative mode, it's not as difficult. So I agree with all these aspects of the game. This is a game where I enjoy it. I enjoy playing it. I have fun going through it because your characters are leveling up. You're building out a deck. You're choosing upgrade pathways. There are tactical choices to make as far as how to deal with the creatures. I've played the Horizon Zero Dawn video game. I like it, but I'm not like a huge super fan. It's not the theme alone that's carrying it for me. I really like what they did with this game and how the game works and the tactical movement you have to play. But to a certain extent, this is a game that you have to be playing it, not with the mindset of, hey, I'm playing a strategic game where I'm playing semi-co-op and trying to win. Because if you're playing it competitive cooperatively, it is too easy. And if you're playing it pure semi-co-op, you're going to kind of try to screw with people in a way that doesn't feel fun. If you're playing this game to have fun, it's a lot of fun. It's one of these reviews where I'm going to be like, here are all the 14 things you should know before you pick it up. But if they don't bother you, I'm having a blast playing it.
I got nothing. This doesn't seem like my bag.
Oh, man. Oh, it is so good.
Yeah, this one doesn't seem like my bag.
It's basically tactical movement, hunting things down. It is shiny, bling, and plastic. I'm not going to lie.
It just looks blingy, though. I know. It's so hard. It's so hard.
It's so good. The choices you're making, the way you upgrade your characters, if you like that kind of stuff.
This is one of those things. And I talked to the Steamforge rep. He's a good friend of mine, Ross. And, you know, I don't know what to think about their games. I have to play them, though. Yeah. Like, I have to start playing them more to figure out where I stand with a lot of their games.
You played Monster Hunter World,
when I played the Resident Evil, I was like, this is awesome.
Yes.
Like, this is
yes.
And I was like, this is awesome. Like, when I played Monster Hunter, I was like, this is good. Like, this is good, too.
Yes.
Like, what am I... Maybe I'm missing some things here.
But what have you actually played of theirs that's bad?
So I was like, maybe I'm just missing something. Dark Souls was bad.
Okay, well, I haven't played Dark Souls. But Dark Souls is the reason I was hesitant on them as a company for a long time. I talked smack about their stuff, and then I started playing their games, aside from Dark Souls, which I haven't played, and I like them.
But I will say, they said to me, and I was just like, the guy was talking to me, was late, and we were late, and he's like, you got to understand, man, that was like one of our first Kickstarters. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense, you know? Like, they've run like, 15 other ones after that? So, so it's like, and they fell on the sword pretty hard when people were like talking to them during Monster Hunter, and they just were like, instead of like being, you know, kind of mean about it or whatever, they took it on chin like champs and just respectfully handle it and talk about how they're going to give good customer service. They did Bard-Song, right?
Yes, they did. I've only played a single boss fight.
I almost considered backing Bard-Song after that conversation. But now it's too late.
I'm excited for Bard-Song because I walked into Bard-Song hesitant because of all the backstory, about all the background around them. But like since then, I've realized I have only enjoyed the games of theirs that I've played. Monster Hunter World without caveats. Resident Evil I love without caveats. Horizon Zero Dawn does have caveats, so I will give you that. There are reasonable critiques around the game design that if you said, like when No Pun Included does not like it, I'm not saying, oh, I don't really share the taste. No, I'm saying I get it. I get your complaints completely and totally. Especially if you're someone who's walking into Kickstarter treating it like you hate the way Kickstarter can enable a bad game to exist. And I understand that. It doesn't bother me. No. For me, the only thing I really care about is the game fun? Everything else is secondary. As a reviewer, I will give you that context so you can make your own decision. But this game is fun. Yeah. But anyways.
Yeah, this one... This one, I'm definitely gonna. I may have to figure out how to snipe a copy when that time comes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see here.
You're number 3.
I have number 3, dude. So Clover.
So Clover. Oh
my gosh! You want to talk about fun, baby?
Yes, I do.
Woo! I mean, this is me. Like, this is what. Dude, this is... Oh, man.
So how does this work? Because I've heard good things. I have no idea how the game works.
So basically, you have these cards, right? You have a clover, 4-leaf clover, and you have cards with words on it. You're going to get those four words, and you're going to arrange it. You basically put it on there how you want. You put it on there randomly, and then you try to make words that remotely represent the two pieces that are facing that clover side.
Okay.
So you see right there, it says, what does that guy say? Statue and grist, whatever it is. Or let's just do the close one. Like, so you're looking for things that will fit, and you're trying to find a word so that other people can guess it. Here's the problem. You take those 4 cards off, and then you grab one from the top of the deck.
Okay.
So then what happens is, when it's your turn, the entire table will come together and try to arrange your cards to match what you've written, like to figure it out. So it's a big sloppy table conversation on how cards are going to turn around and like, does this make sense or whatever? And like since you have that 5th card element in there that you don't know what's on that card, it can throw everybody off. So everybody could be overthinking, like, I don't know what that is.
So let me say this again. So you get 4 cards, you arrange them over here, you write things on the side to align, what is it, bakery and cereal, and you write breakfast. Then the other players take those 4 cards, a 5th card from the deck, shuffle them up, rearrange them, and then they have to figure out, where'd you do knife, and where'd you do breakfast, and where'd you do...
Yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It's beautiful, man. And like, this right here is like a correct answer. This is like all correct, but you got to understand it. Like, you could actually have a card in there that like really flips
the entire
exactly
thing.
What you're like, oh no, this is so wrong. No.
Wow. So it's fully co-op. It's like just one fully co-op.
Yeah. It's basically, it's right there with me, and I have to play it a little bit long because just one is like my go-to.
Okay, I'm buying this game.
But this, no, I tell everybody, just buy the game. Like, I want to say it's $20. Like, just buy the game.
Yeah, but like I have so many party games. I have just one. I have code names. I have Decrypto.
Like, right. You have to have this game.
Wow. Okay. Cool. Well, I know what I'm getting after this call.
Exactly.
Very cool. You sold me on it. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. My number 2 is going to save all of us a lot of time because my number 2, I'm just going to talk about how the game, why it's a surprise for me and not the game itself, because my number 2 is Radlands. Because Radlands is amazing.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
My number 2 is this is again like Mind MGMT, like what was the other one we had? I forgot what games I covered today. Like 2 of the games. Oh, like Canvas and like Mind MGMT. It was on Kickstarter and I completely ignored it. It was another lane battler. The gameplay looked simple, which it is in a good way, but I didn't know that back then. And it's like, I have lane battlers. I have Hanamakoji. I have Battle Line. I have a whole bunch of games that give me this general lane battling experience. I don't need another one. And Roxley makes phenomenal looking games, but I'm not going to be sold by the art and production values alone. Roxley, nice try. Turns out I was an idiot because this game is amazing.
Yeah.
I sat down. I played a copy with Devin Norris from the Quacklow team. He was visiting. He brought a copy. I was like, yeah, I'd love to give it a shot. Why not? And then he taught it to me, and I was like, yeah, that seems like about as complex as I was expecting. Sure, let's give it a try. And we played. Then we played again. And then we played again. Fast forward to like a week and a half. I got my own copy, and I've played this game like 15 times, and love it every single time.
It's that good, man.
It's so good.
It's that good.
So good.
And it's $50 for the deluxe.
Yeah.
Like, it's not expensive deluxe edition. By
and those playmats are nice.
You find a deluxe edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually, I would say if you bought the retail edition and you like this game, you would immediately buy the collector's edition.
I'm going to be upgrading.
Yeah. So you would just immediately be like, all right, so how much is this collector's edition? Because they really did a good job with it. By the way, the cards, you can bend them, and you can they're not indestructible, but you can completely bend them and they flip right back. I think they're PVC cards or something.
They had
like
some
that.
term. I remember seeing that. I'm not going to try it, but my kids mess with it. I'll let you know how it goes.
Riffle shuffler.
I want to do like a full bend, like a full creased bend. Does it come back from a creased bend?
Dude, yes. They they do just like this. They bend the card.
No. Yeah. There's bending the card, and then there's creasing the bend.
Don't know. Can't say that.
You see, I don't know how to find out. I wish they gave you like one extra card, and they're like, play with this one, see how it goes.
Yes.
Anyways,
you know who does a really good job of selling something that was really funny?
Yeah.
It was so ridiculous. I wonder if they still have it on their website, on their YouTube page. Chip Theory did a thing about their cards. You know how their cards are you can spill water on them and stuff. They did an accident video. They were spilling coffee by accident.
Nice.
It was they're having a hard day at the office where they keep spilling stuff on it. It was so silly. And the cards, of course, never got messed up because of what they're made of. So
yeah.
I thought that was
so that's my number 2. Fast to the point. We skipped we skipped yours with Mind MGT. We skipped mine with Radlands, and it's time for yours.
number 2 is going to be Vagrantsong.
Oh, good choice.
Vagrantsong came out of absolutely nowhere, and I'm usually got my ear to the ground. I think Michael King is the king of that, but I usually really am on all the campaign games.
This wasn't a campaign. This was not a campaign. This is retail.
And this one was not a Kickstarter campaign, which is why it slipped through my cracks.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a campaign boss battler style game, and you are basically you are these vagrants, and you're fighting off these ghosts, but you're actually trying to bring them back to humanity. Meanwhile, they are trying to take your humanity away. And what you have is these little chips, and these chips are coins. They're used in between fights to buy things, but during the game they're going to be used to activate actions on your board and also in your on your skill cards. Now the cool part about that is that these skill cards also act as your health as well, because you can get those injured, you can get those cards injured and you heal them back. And what happens is you can even become a ghost in fight as well. So you have all these different things. Oh, by the way, what you're looking at right now with all the these action things is basically that person has, 50 health, because it's 10 per card. And then you also have your health. So you get pretty buffed up just by buying cards in between missions.
But then if you lose them all, you become a ghost.
Yeah, but if you lose them all, then you start becoming a ghost. So then you become this kind of otherworldly character. You become more... I think it gets easier or harder depending on if you I can't remember, but there's a penalty for that. The one thing I will say about this game is it's not just beat up the boss.
Correct.
There's actually things where you don't fight. You deal with obstacles. You are in a race. You are just basically having a skill check off. You're like arranging a puzzle, and they do a lot with that 3-section board that I did not expect.
Yes.
And also just having goal cards that you really do want to chase after, because you're going to be using, once again, your action tokens are coins that you're going to be using in between games. Well, if you fulfill some of these missions that are in the game, you also will have those coins to use as well to buy. So you have incentive to go after them. As well, there's a little bit of it's not choose your own adventure, but it's really just like a multiple choice that people can do together. That says, hey, like, do you want to make this choice or that choice? And it may change how things go in the next fight. But another big thing, and this is not something I've seen before, I don't think. You have a bag of chips that you use for like healing and to draw the enemy somewhere. Well, inside those same bag with those same chips, you're going to have event tokens, but you're also going to be using those same chips as the AI for the boss.
Yeah.
And every single boss uses them differently. And they have 2 different versions of themselves that they use those chips for. So they change like from happy to angry. Yeah. And then what'll happen is that same bag of chips will mean something different when you pull out the same apple. So it's like...
And also it's an interesting choice as you try to figure out what to hold on to as a character just to deprive the bag.
But to hold on to.
Yeah. It's a very interesting game. Yeah.
There's a little bit of... Yeah, it's a very interesting game. So I hope more people get their hands on this one. When it's a little bit more in circulation. This is not a publisher that does these things.
Nope, weird miniatures, different games.
They have made games, but they have like less than 5, I think. So this is like going to be a big coming out party for them, because I will review it well. I think everybody who's going to review this is going to love it.
I believe
outside of the risky rolling.
Yeah, all the reviews I've seen really have been so far very positive. For myself, I've only played through I think 3 games so far, so I've really liked what I've seen so far. But I want to play it more before I actually release my review. Yeah. But my review is somewhere between great and very great. But like I like the game. It's really solid. Like you said, came out of nowhere. Probably because of the publisher. They do miniatures and like 4 or 5 board games, and the standees are delightful. Acrylic standees. Like,
dude, that's my. This is one of those other big cases for my love of acrylic standees. It just, you know what it is? It takes the right artwork.
Yeah.
For acrylic standees.
It does.
That's what it is.
This little faceless, the faceless that
artwork.
When you turn it around, it's exact same on the other side. Haunting.
That Uprising game that.
The Nemesis. Nemesis.
So another one of those things. Beautiful art, bright coloring. Yeah,
it works well.
It's something about acrylic standees really shines with the right game.
Beautiful. Great choice. My number one is A game that I shouldn't like by all accounts because of its mechanic that I tend to not like. It's a game that I completely wrote off. I did back it on Kickstarter, but only because it came part of a 3-game bundle, and I was getting the other 2, and I was like, I'll get this one too, but I am...
Oh, dude.
Do you know which one it is?
Give it to me. What do you got? It's kid table board. I mean, it's not
board game tables,
so
and it's Ghosts of Christmas.
Ghosts of Christmas. I have that one. The Bear Raid.
Yep. And
Factory Funner. I want to play these games.
Yep. I have all 3 of them. I got the game because I wanted Factory Funner and I wanted Bear Raid. And once you're getting 2 of them, the price point on getting the 3rd was you may as well. It makes no sense.
You don't.
Yeah.
You just buy these 3 games. By the way, whenever you see board game tables, it seems like they're going to do these 3 packs.
Yep.
Just get the whole thing. You're not going to regret it. You're going to get high quality stuff.
Yep.
Highest of quality.
Yeah.
For your $70?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
so
you get a nice pack of
games. You're going to get the highest of quality. They haven't made a bad game. They're good, they're solid, they're average, but then there's really great ones in there.
Yeah, and
so
Ghosts of Christmas.
I would say you're good to go. This is a good $70 risk no matter what when you get a bunch of these games from them.
So this one's trick-taking, and trick-taking is a genre that I've only liked. We've actually already talked about the other one, which is The Crew.
Give it to me.
The Crew. The Crew is the only time I've liked trick-taking in games.
Oh my gosh.
I do not like trick-taking other times. I've played a bunch. I played
play good trick-taking.
What trick-taking?
Oh
Lay it on me. I probably haven't.
How can you not? You haven't played enough trick-taking
It's
games.
very possible, but I've played the original trick-taking games like
gosh.
Hearts and Spades, never had time or patience for those, and then I played some of the new ones. I played Fox in the Forest, I played, what's the other famous one? There's another famous one that is in the genre, I can't remember, but I just haven't liked trick-taking as a mechanic, and so I got Ghost of Christmas.
Have you played Space Tricks?
No.
Oh, dude.
No, we'll get to them. Trust me, I'm looking into them now. Now I'm all excited with them. But I got Ghost of Christmas knowing I didn't like trick-taking, and I was like, I'll give this a shot. I pulled it out because I just played Factory Funner. We hadn't had time to play Bear Raid yet. I was like, I'm going to just knock this out so I can move on from it. It is so ridiculously good. The core premise here, and there's no art here, unfortunately. I should have gone to the Kickstarter page.
Yeah.
The core premise is, maybe I'll just go to the Kickstarter page now while I'm here. But the Ghost of Christmas, let's see, trick-taking. Let's do that on my bar. Trick-taking. The core premise of the game is the fact that you are, let's find the Kickstarter. Board game tables, that's good enough. If they don't have pictures here, we're in trouble. Yeah, there we go. So the idea over here is you have these rows. You have the past, present, and future that you're working with. And when you play a trick, you can choose where to play your card. So I might lead a trick in one of past, present, or future, but you can choose to follow me in whatever lane I'm in, because once the first person to play a trick sets the color for that trick. Or you can choose to go to the present or future. Now, if you know trick taking, that means you have this fun little interesting mechanism where if you play yellow, I have to follow in yellow. But what if I just played my yellow to a different lane instead, and now I'm out of yellow, so now I can suddenly mess the color.
Yes.
And then we're not done screwing with your mind yet. Then you have to get to the part where once you're done with that, that determines the color played to the trick. But the color of the trick is not the color played inherently. Rather, the color of the trick is the color of the start player. Which means if you win that first trick, you can actually set the color for the second trick, which messes with people's minds because someone may have led a trick in green, you followed it in blue, but because you won the first trick in yellow, you're now the color, and you're screwing with the entire table with your thing. And we're not done yet, because really, the way this game plays is you actually start with a hand of 12 cards. You're playing 3 per round, because there's past, present, and future, which means you're playing 4 rounds. But before you start, you look at your hand of 12 cards, and then you bid on how many tricks you think you're going to win. And you only score points if you score those tricks correctly. If you say I'm winning 5 tricks, you only score points if you win 5 tricks. If you win 6, you don't score anything. You win 4, you don't win anything.
Oh, Lord.
It sounds complicated. It sounds like a lot. But when you play it once, you are good to go. It is brilliant. It is mean. It is tight. It is so, so good. I was expecting nothing, and I will play this with you all day long.
Wow. Yeah, we gotta play this.
When you're here, let's make it happen. Jesse and Shira love it.
Basically, we gotta get to the. Have you played the other ones, Factory Funner and Factory?
I played Factory Funner. I have not played Bear Raid yet.
Dude, Bear Raid looks ridiculously good.
Listen. The rules in all these games are 4 pages. I will have the rules ready.
They look. Guys, I'm not. Hey, folks. BoardGameTables.com. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Great high quality stuff. Always take a look at their stuff.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Really solid game. That blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. I was expecting nothing.
They can't keep anything in stock at cons, by the way. So
Yes.
you might want to, if you're looking for this stuff, get it on their website now because they barely keep anything in print because they always sell out. So
Yeah. Your turn, sir. You're number one.
all right. So my number one is Alex. This is big for me.
Uh-oh.
So we have our MVM, our game of the year. I got my solo top 10, solo plus community top 10. And this game, I think I'm almost at 20 plays of it already, and I've only had it since October. And it's a heavy game. And that is Ark Nova.
Oh, Ark Nova.
Ark Nova. So I found out about Ark Nova in August.
Yep.
And I was doing some research, and I knew I was going to go see the publisher, Capstone.
Yeah.
I know this guy. He's a friend of mine. So I said, all right, let me ask him about it. And he was like, how did you know about this game? I was like, man, I was doing some deep research, and I found out a little bit more about it. And I was like really hyped. I had some of my team over there in Essen. They brought it back. They sent it to me. And, dude, this game, oh, my God. Wow. So you're building a zoo. You're building this zoo kind of terrain thing here. Your board is a board where you can place these tiles. The tiles will be enclosures, 1 through 5 size for your animal cards. You're trying to build animal cards. These animal cards will be put in those enclosures and flip them over so that represents you. As you fill things and you kind of place over these terrains and fulfill the requirements, you'll also get benefits as well. You'll also have sponsor cards and things like that you'll build, and they'll give you like scoring combos for your animals and different things you have. But ultimately, the game is played in this kind of Civilization New Dawn-esque thing where you'll have cards numbered 1 through 5, and you'll have 5 different cards. As you take an action, you will take the power of whatever number it's under. So you can take a level 4 version of the association action if it's under 4. You'll take that card out, put it at 1, and then slide the rest over. So eventually your cards will cycle through this 5-card, 5 power thing.
That's
and you even have
funny
X tokens.
because I've seen.
Yeah,
so I've seen that action done only in Warpgate, and I never played Civilization New Dawn, and I remember seeing that style, and I was thinking, I love the concept. I want to see it executed in more games, so that's awesome.
So you can also take X tokens and go beyond 5, so you can do some really cool stuff. So you also have a couple different things, like that association board in the blue over there. You can make partnerships with the world so that you get your cards for cheaper. You can also do research. And then you also have these conservation projects. So the board is made of appeal. So when you buy animals and things like that, you get appeal, which is like the ticket looking brown right there.
Yep.
And then the green track, which is on the inside, is conservation, which you're going to do by contributing to projects, the green cards that were around that blue board. And what will happen is when those things meet and cross will determine when the end game is triggered, and also how far those two pieces are apart.
So Raj the Ganja
will
style.
determine your score. Rogers the Ganges. So, Alex.
Oh, I pre-ordered this already.
Alex.
I pre-ordered it already.
Hear me out, Alex. Hear me out. This may be the first game where I can say there's nothing wrong with this game. This is the first game I've played where I'm like, what's wrong with this game? Just tell me what's wrong with this game. Now, if you gave me one flaw, if you said, Jeremy, come on now, dude. This is a very low to no player interaction game. This is very much multiplayer solitaire. There are 10 cards in the deck, and there are only unique cards in the deck. I think there's 211 cards. None of them are the same. So if you discard a card, that card ain't coming back. No card like it is coming back.
Okay.
So, but there's these cards that give you like... they're interaction type cards, but they're like you can make them so they're not. You can just basically make them so like the solo mode is like draw a card instead or do this and this instead. And some people don't like multiplayer solitaire. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not a flaw. That's a preference. Don't play.
I agree with you. Yeah.
That's not a flaw. So because they gave you an alternative. And it's not even a variant. It's just an alternative. They're like, well, just make them not interactive, and you'll just play multiplayer solitaire. Everything about this game, man, it just works. And I remember I was talking to the publisher about this, and he said, you know what's interesting is he was like the developers and play testers, He said they never stop playing this game. He's like, it's done. They should be moved on to the next product. They play it constantly, and I thought, people compare this to Terraforming Mars. It's not at all. Not at all. There are no starting corporations and all other stuff. None of that stuff there. The only reason why it seems like Terraforming Mars to people is because the iconography of the cards and the way the cards explain themselves very well and cleanly. But man,
well, like I said, I pre-ordered this. People say, whether or not you agree, and if you have a bunch of people saying it's like Terraforming Mars and all of them are giving it high ratings, I'm getting the game.
Yeah.
We have my Alexa design chip in. Cool.
But I can't express enough, man. This game, it's a 10, man. It's a 10.
I'm excited.
It's a 10 for me.
I'm excited. It's rare that I sit there and pre-order. It's very rare. I usually either get the game somewhere or another, trade for it, back it on Kickstarter, publisher sends it to me, sitting there and pre-ordering a game that I can't even get yet. I don't do that often, and I did this with this game.
Now, if you don't like long games, this ain't your game, because it could be a good 3.5 hours. Basically, if you're one of those people that does play Terraforming Mars for 3.5, 4 hours,
this is fine.
You know what you're getting into, okay? Yeah. You know what you're getting into.
Yeah, long game just means it doesn't see the table as often as I'd like, which is a
right.
concern. But I'm not going to not get it. I just will still get it, and I'll play it less often than I would like. Very cool. Very cool. Well, that is a good way to end the list, because I already have this game coming, so my FOMO is only a little bit. Now I have to go order So Clover, because I think that's the one I need to get. The others are... And Bad Company. And Bad Company. The others I are...
Yes, you got to find Bad Company.
Yeah. Very cool. Jeremy, this was an absolute blast having you over. For those who made it this far, like I said already earlier, head on over to Man vs. Meeple, where we will be doing our top 10 disappointing games. These are all the good things that happened to us this year. These are all the ones we weren't expecting and took us by surprise and blew us away. But there are definitely games out there that we were expecting something from, and they did not deliver. So if you want to find out what those ones are...
Continuation of surprises. Continuation of
surprises in a different manner. In a different manner of speaking. It's a surprise of a different color. Very cool. Thanks so much, Jeremy. This has been an absolute blast. And to everyone else, have a good one.
Take care, party people.